Here we have some very, very sad news. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert has died or is dying. It's a terminal illness. It's called cancellation. Let's see how Stephen Colbert decided to react to this whole situation.
Oh, hey, everybody. We got a great show for you tonight. Senator Adam Schiff was my guest. We harmonized on 7 Bridges Road. What a voice. I cried. But before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And
which is really huge when you consider the legacy of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Now, you know, for reference, if we're going to look at the franchise, this has been around for 33 years. 33 years. It started in 1994. 1994. This is an ancient program, not maybe not ancient program, but it's a massive program with a huge legacy. This is as if CNN decided to cancel CNN Newsroom. Like, that's how much of a legacy this show has had, especially in the landscape of late night talk.
Our last season, the network will be ending The Late Show in May. And yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of our show, but it's the end of The Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away. And I do want to say that the folks at CBS have been great partners. I'm so grateful to the Tiffany Network for giving me this chair and this beautiful theater to call home. And of course, I'm grateful to you, the audience, who have joined us. Every night, in here, out there, all around the world, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. I'm grateful to share the stage with this band, these artists over here every night. And I am extraordinarily, deeply grateful to the 200 people who work here. We get to do this show. We get to do this show for each other every day, all day. And I've had the pleasure and the responsibility of sharing what we do every day with you in front of this camera for the last 10 years. And let me tell you, it is a fantastic job. I wish somebody else was getting it. And it's a job that I'm looking forward to doing with this usual gang of idiots for another 10 months. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Y'all ready?
We're going to lock in.
Y'all ready?
Let's go.
Y'all ready? Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Dante, let's do the show. Jazz Cowboy, drop it on the poof.
What? What was that? Blop it on the poof? That's a new one. That's a new one. You know, maybe stuff like that is why the show is going to cancel. But but this is actually kind of crazy. I think that it marks a massive shift in the programming strategies of broadcast television, or at the very least as of CBS. Because if you guys don't know, CBS had canceled another late night show just like a month or two ago, featuring Taylor Tomlinson. If you don't remember, it was called At Midnight. Now, if you guys haven't heard of the show, you know, you don't feel alone. I was like, which show is this? I looked it up and I was like, oh, I remember when the show got announced. I guess I did know. So even the people who knew what the show was forgot what it was. And that's part of why that show ended. Taylor Tomlinson decided to leave. And here's the most telling thing. Here's the most telling thing. I find this really interesting. Taylor Tomlinson decided to leave At Midnight, a late show on a broadcast television channel, to do stand-up comedy. She left a late show to do stand-up comedy. I think that says a lot. It reminds me of the fact that Lester Holt recently left the nightly news on NBC in order to host Dateline. I think that it shows how much things are shifting. Things that are staples of broadcast television, nightly news programs, and comedy shows late at night, these are, the audience is dying. Maybe a little bit too literal for many folks' tastes, but it's true. These audiences are dying. people are not watching these programs anymore as much. And that inevitably means that the format is going to die unless someone like, I don't know, like Apple TV Plus or Netflix decides to save it, right? Because you've got Apple TV Plus tried to keep the format alive with Jon Stewart. They had the problem with Jon Stewart. Also, Netflix does have a late night show with John Mulaney, I think his name is, or something like that. I forget what the name of the show is, but that show has been doing quite well from what I hear. So maybe streamers, as these late night shows die off, streamers will decide to make their own late night shows. That'd be pretty cool. But there's no guarantee that that's going to happen, right? Especially because finding a really good host for your late night show is one of the huge things that makes a late night show pop. Even for a show that isn't widely liked or might even be derided by certain corners of the internet. For example, I think Gutfeld is a great example of this. I like Gutfeld. Gutfeld's cool. I think that the show has sort of been on the decline for several years now. Right, it was great when it was just a really late show, and then I think they changed the time to be more palatable on the weekends. It was a little bit better. It was fine. The slide format changed, but then when they went from 1 day a week to like 5 days a week, the writing just the show just sort of just like cratered in quality. It was kind of sad to see, because very clearly they didn't hire more writers for the show despite giving them 5 times as much work. It just made the show less funny. But even on a show like that a lot of people don't like, when different host comes on, like I think Tyrus was the host for an episode or two not too long ago, there's a huge uproar from the fans and a huge uproar from the audience. So I think that proves, hey, you need a really good host in order to have a successful late night television program. And it's far harder to be like, hey, we've got this great host, watch him, and everyone watches him and adores him. It's harder to do that than to just be like, hey guys, we're making a late night show and we're just sticking this dude in a chair. That's a lot easier to do, and it doesn't guarantee success. CBS has been like, we're done with this, we're giving up, and it's just really sad and unfortunate. Yeah, but I hope that format continues to survive for real, because I loved watching those clips as a kid. I was never allowed to watch a full episode of late night talk shows. I still haven't watched a full episode of late night talk shows, but those clips were fun. Stephen Colbert has some really classic moments from Comedy Central, from his old show, The Colbert Report. That was a fun program.